Hello everyone, thank you so much for stopping back by the channel. So you have tuned in to part 3 of the series, Are We Born Sinners? If you haven't seen parts 1 and 2, I'm going to put a suggestion to part 1 right here, which will lead you to part 2 obviously. So I would suggest that you go ahead and watch those before you continue with this video, just to keep up with, the linear story that I'm laying out, okay? So at the end of part 2, I left you with a question. Why did Jehovah feel it was necessary to block the man and woman from the tree of life as a result of knowing good and evil? Is there something wrong with knowing good and evil? According to Jehovah, from Jehovah's perspective, he actually prevented them from eating of a tree that could cause them to continue to live forever, because it says that the man has become like one of us, knowing good and evil. And so he wasn't allowed to do this. Now, some would say, well, he told them that they were going to die if they ate the fruit. So he basically had to keep his word and not let them, live on. But as is clearly shown, it seems that both of these trees were somehow connected, or something was going on where if you eat one, you can't eat the other, apparently, because it wasn't about them eating of the tree of knowledge of good and evil that really caused them to die, was it? It was the fact that God prevented them from eating of the tree of life, which meant that that would have been the next obvious step, according to, what we can deduce from just the little bit of information we have in the story. If they didn't eat of the tree of knowledge, and they proved their faithfulness, then he would have let them eat from the tree of life, meaning that he didn't want them to have knowledge of good and evil, right? That's what that would mean. So what is that trying to say? If you really think about that, you guys, think about what we have. As a result of what they did, apparently, this whole concept of good and evil has been passed down to us. Correct? So we all have intimate knowledge of good and evil. In fact, they state, people who believe, certain ideologies of the Bible and religion, that the bad is what we are prone to do, or the evil is what we're prone to do, just like our first parents, because of this, apparent decision that they made, right? But how is it that we are given an opportunity to live forever? As Jehovah's Witnesses say, we're supposed to live forever on paradise earth, correct? As other religions say, we're supposed to live eternally in heaven, correct? So why is it that we, all of humanity after Adam and Eve, are supposedly given this opportunity to live eternally, even though we also have the knowledge of good and evil? Does this make much sense? Why would they have not been able to live on just because they had this knowledge? You see, because again, we have to take the scriptures for what they say. They are not saying, at least in Genesis, the foundation of everything, that Jehovah is upset with them for not listening to him. That is not what it's saying. He didn't even give them the type of message or warning that would let them know that it had to do with listening to him. And I'm gonna give you an example. When he gave the Israelites the law, when Moses had them be at the mountain, between those two mountains, and he was like, you have two choices laid out before you today. You can listen to Jehovah and choose whom you're going to serve. Are you going to serve Jehovah and listen and follow his commandments? Or are you going to choose death, basically, if you don't listen to Jehovah and follow his commandments? So this is clear what is being told, right? This is clear information that they were given, with the nation of Israel. So they would have known it was tied to listening to God. But Adam and Eve did not know this. And it appears that somehow these trees were intertwined, meaning that if they ate of the tree of knowledge, they couldn't eat of the tree of life. But we can assume that if they didn't eat of the tree of knowledge and they maintained their, passed this test that they were put up against, then they would have possibly been able to eat of the tree of life and live forever, which would mean that Jehovah really just wanted them to stay in this state like children. Going back to what I said in, one of the other parts. Yes, he did tell them not to eat of the tree, but he told them the consequence for doing it. And that is why when they didn't do what he said, it was like, oh, you didn't listen to me? Okay, so now this is the result. I got to kick you out of here and let you experience this thing. It's sort of like a parent leaving their child, with the access to the refrigerator, but having, let's say, a hard bottle of alcohol in the refrigerator, right? The type of alcohol that will put hair on your chest. Let's just put it like that, okay? And telling their child, don't drink that alcohol because if you do, you're going to get sick. So as any of us know, adults, right? We know what alcohol is. We know we know what alcohol actually does. It makes you drunk, right? But obviously, if you drink too much, obviously. But if you had never felt this feeling, and this was your first time drinking, especially if you're young, you could potentially get sick, right? Even adults get sick, obviously, if they drink too much. But it's more to what this is than just something that'll make you sick, okay? So let's just say that the parent finds out that the child drinks it and wants them to go through with the experience of this whole sickness. I mean, they know nothing's going to happen, nothing permanent, no permanent damage. So they want them to just go through with it. Look, I told you not to do it. So now you got sick, you're throwing up. Okay. I'm not going to give you any Pepto-Bismol for your stomach. I'm not going to give you any Tylenol to make you, to make that headache go away. I'm going to let you deal with that because you didn't listen. And you said, and this is obviously the decision you wanted to make, right? So again, as many of you know, I don't take the Bible at face value. So I believe that a lot of these stories, especially this here, which is the foundation of everything, is trying to tell us something about the state in which humanity is in. And this state has to do with duality. Knowing good and evil intimately, because we know that the word that was used for know, when Jehovah said that they know good and evil, it was the same word, the same Hebrew word that would have been used for know in the case of when Adam knew his wife, when he slept with his wife, right? So it was this intimate knowledge, intimate experiencing of good and evil. Okay, and what does that mean? If we are going to really fully experience this thing, we have to really fully experience this thing, okay? And we all know that in this life that we are living, everything pretty much has its opposite. There's only one thing I could think of that doesn't have its opposite. Maybe one day I'll talk about what that is. But there's tall and short, happy and sad, love and hate, life and death, right? Everything has its opposite. So if we are going to exist in a duality, then there is no way, at least as in this human form, in this physical form, to live forever. At least that is what the story seems to be trying to communicate to us. As stated, this particular motif about the tree of life is something that is in all types of cultures, well predating the Bible. Whether this is a physical tree, I highly doubt it. I have heard many things about what this actually could mean, this tree of life. And most likely, this is a concept. It's not a literal tree. But what this concept would be trying to get across to us is that if we are existing in a duality, then we have to experience all extremes of what this duality entails. So, again, this is just something for you to consider. I am not asking you to take any of this as fact, of course, but just think about that. Doesn't it make sense? As opposed to there being a literal tree? If it was really about Jehovah trying to protect mankind, why would he not have given more detail? If this whole story about this whole fall and him telling them not to eat of this tree was a protection, why would he have not given them more information? Because we clearly see that they didn't die immediately upon eating of it. Of course, witnesses believe that they died within one day, which was, within that 1,000 years. But anybody who hears within a day is going to think it means a literal day. So why wouldn't it be more specific if that's what it meant? The end of your life, eventually you're going to die. Why also would he not have expressed to them all of these other things that they would have experienced? Like when they started feeling shame, when they started feeling guilt, after eating it, they started realizing they were naked. In essence, their eyes became opened, just like the serpent said. Most people look at them getting kicked out of this paradise-like condition of the Garden of Eden as a punishment. But was it really a punishment, or was it a consequence of living in this type of a situation to which there would be no way around it? Okay? So that is the question that I would like to leave you with today.